Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brothers and sisters, if you can start typing your questions in now, and we can start answering your questions, inshallah. This is a live feature, and I've been told about this, so we'll try and answer whatever we can in this time. So I think one of the questions was that about Yajooj and Majooj. Now, some of you are probably stuck in the signs of the last hour. Now, the signs of the last hour are many, and one of them is the Yajooj and Majooj. Now, again, there are descriptions in the ahadith about the Yajooj and Majooj, but we don't necessarily know exactly, what exact descriptions they will have, but we know for sure that there will be, there will be a whole nation of creatures wherever they are. I know some scholars say that there is actually there's actually room to say that there could be human beings, but I don't actually believe in that because of the fact that you can't start looking at these people and saying that Yajooj and Majooj. I mean, there are certain sheikhs across the world who say that they could be the Caucasians of America, and I think that's quite wrong, because if you're saying that they're Caucasians or other people of the world, the Yajooj and Majooj, then what about the hadith that Allah Azza wa Jalla will for every human being that goes to hellfire, Allah will send 999 Yajooj and Majooj. So that clearly shows that it's not about. It's clearly saying that the Yajooj and Majooj are not going to be human beings, because why would that hadith exist? And see, these sheikhs that say that the Yajooj and Majooj are actually human beings, they don't look across the whole of the region of ahadith and start seeing whether everything fits. This is the big question. So you could come up with a theory that Yajooj and Majooj is this, but if you don't actually look across all the ahadith, and if it doesn't actually fit, then you've actually you've made a point, but it doesn't really fit in with the other ahadith, and therefore your point doesn't stand. Okay. So whatever the creation of Yajooj and Majooj are, eventually they'll actually come out, and we just need to know that we've got to get close to Allah before Qiyamah actually comes. Okay, so the reason of all of this is that Qiyamah is coming, and that we've got to be people that are people who get close to Allah Azza wa Jal. So that was one question. Shadab Malik is asking, could you tell about wazifa and what does it work, and does it work? Look, wazifa is or hizb is a set of readings that you have. Now, I know some Indo-Pak people have got a set of a book with certain things that are written in there, but what I'm talking about is the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in, they had a hizb. Now, hizb is something where you have got a collection of readings, and that you read these every single day. And there's a hadith in Muslim that says, Man nama an hizbihi, whosoever has slept and they forgot to read their hizb, then they can read it the next day before Dhuhr Salah. So this is about a hizb. Now, wazifa is a bit different to that, but if you take wazifa as the meaning of a collection of readings, then that's fine. You can read it just like the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in used to read it. But if it's to do with certain things that you're saying in there which are going against the Qur'an and Sunnah, of things that you're calling out to, whatever, then that's not right. So I don't know which wazifa you're talking about, but how it works is that it will gain you benefit, inshallah, if you try and read like salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you try and just remember Allah, do some dhikr or something, or read part of the wazifa sometimes is just to just to read the Qur'an, and there are parts of Qur'an in there, so that's all good. So that's wazifa. How do you taste the sweetness of Iman? How you taste the sweetness of Iman, this is from Sulaiman Khawar. How you taste the sweetness of Iman is that you've got to try and make Allah and His Messenger the most beloved to yourself. That's according to Hadith in Bukhari. And then you've tasted the sweetness of Iman. There's a second one, which is that you love your Muslim brother or for a sister, she loves her Muslim sister. I'm not talking about brothers here, yeah? I'm not saying that brothers start loving their sisters just as they're loving other brothers. I'm not talking about that, okay? So we're saying that, you know, you love your Muslim brother for the sake of Allah. You don't love him for any other reason except for the sake of Allah. Okay, so the same goes for a sister. She loves her Muslim sister just for the sake of Allah, not for any other reason. That will actually make you taste the sweetness of Iman. Now that means that you don't have any attachments. Okay, like, you know, sometimes you have brothers and sisters and you get to know someone because, you know, it's cool to know this person. You get to know someone because this person is going to do a favor. Okay, so therefore you make friends with that person. I mean, these are reasons that are sort of selfish reasons, you could say, that you want to be with someone. But the real one is that you just know the believers and you're with the believers. What for? For Allah's sake, and then you taste the sweetness of Iman. And the last one is that you don't go that your Islam is so established that you don't want to ever come out of it. You don't want to ever go to kufr or disbelief. Just as a person would never go to the fire and jump into the fire, the same way you feel your Islam is so strong inside you, so strong that you feel this, you know, I want to be on this. This is my faith. This is what I want. Okay, so these are three reasons why you would actually where you would find the sweetness of Iman. There are a number of other things as well. You know, the dhikr of Allah will give you the sweetness of Iman as well. So Mahbub Ahmad is asking, I'm leading the Friday prayers at school I work in. I have done my own studies into this topic, but I would kindly request you to go over the minimum requirements for the khutbah. Mahbub, the thing is, please read the books and scholars, and so you know, you need to say the hamd and salah, you need to say alhamdulillah, you need to send salutation to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You need to, you know, praise Allah Azza wa Jal. You need to send salutations, fine. But then after that, you need to say the shahada. So, ashhadu an la ilaha wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu rasul, and so on and so forth. And you need to say, if you can say an ayah or something that reminds people of Allah Azza wa Jal. I think that's essential. And in the second one, same thing, but with some du'as as well that are said, extended in the second one. So I'm sure the books of khutbah will make that clear to you. Naeem Shah says salam wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sarah Khurram says, is Salafi a madhab? Now listen to my talk, which is who's right. So who's right? Or listen to my talk of Sufi versus Salafi. I will speak about that in there. But when we say Salafi being a madhab, we mean that it's a pathway that these people take. So just as you have got people who will follow a certain scholars, like the people of the Hanafi madhab, they will follow Hanafi scholars. You know, there'll be Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad, and there'll be a number of scholars over the 1400 years or 1300 years that they've actually followed. So Salafis, or if there's a person who calls himself a Salafi, then he will have a number of scholars he will follow. So it might be Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, it might be Ibn Qayyim Jawzi rahimahullah, it might be Ibn Baz rahimahullah, it might be Albani rahimahullah, whoever it is, because they're following a set way, a set pattern, a set thinking mode. That is what makes it a madhab. Madhab literally means a way of thinking. So yes, if they're doing that, then that becomes a madhab. Okay, Farah Joy says, Salam Shaykh, wa alaikum salam. From what we know, after 3 talaqs or 3 different sittings, it's not revocable. If the couple want it, can they do istighfar and go ahead? Look, this is a question you need to ask a mufti. So please go and find a mufti and ask, because I'm not a mufti and I'm not going to answer that question. Umar Ahmed Mia says, Salam Shaykhana, what books, wa alaikum salam, what books would you recommend to study in English for beginner students of knowledge? Shukran. So, beginner books, so you're a person who's beginning to study Islam. There are many books out there in English, and my problem is that I don't actually read the books in English. I mean, if you look around here, there's all these Arabic books there, loads of these Arabic books, and I'm into Arabic. I'm not so much into English, so I don't really know I don't know many books out there, but I would say one of the good books that I found in English is, for example, Islam: The Natural Way by Abdul Wahid Hamid. You know, it'd probably be good if you read that one. I mean, it depends on the subject that you want to read on. So on the Sirah, you might want to read Rahiq al-Makhtoum, or you might want to read on Tafsir, you might want to read Ibn Kathir's book, but then that might become too long. So, you know, it depends what subject you want to read on. But as a beginning, best thing to do is that go and visit and be with others and let them teach you Islam, as well as you reading some simple books. So a book that you can actually get cover to cover through with, and also try and be with your scholars in your own locality. This is one of the best ways, and ask them what books you can read, and let them guide you, inshallah. Okay, so Rani Begum is asking, says, Assalamu alaikum Shaykh, wa alaikum salam. Rani Begum, what is the punishment for those who deceive and lie to people in order to use them and gain benefit out of them, leaving them in a state of depression and destroying their lives? I'm sorry if there's a person out there, whoever that is, Rani, that is going through this. Don't just think about punishment, because the thing is, whoever's in that situation, if they actually forgive the person, then Allah Azza wa Jal will give you a greater reward. Will give you a much better reward if you forgive them. But sometimes I understand you can't forgive people. Okay, sometimes it's like they've done too much harm to you. So if that's the case, then you're thinking, well, what is the punishment? Well, just leave it to Allah. Let Allah do what He wants. If Allah wants to forgive them, He can forgive them. And what does that mean? That doesn't mean that you're left without anything. No. See, the hadith about the 100 people that got killed by that individual, the serial killer, and then after that he did tawbah, and then, you know, there's a long hadith that he actually gets forgiven because they find him closer to the land of those people who are good and righteous people. That hadith tells us that if Allah wants to forgive someone, He can. Now, what happens to the victims that he actually killed? Because this is the big question. The victims that he killed, Allah will compensate them in some way. In the next world, He will compensate them in a good way. And if you're one of them, you will actually you will receive that. You'll receive much greatness and much goodness over the revenge or the punishment that you wanted to see these people go through, or the revenge you wanted to have over them. So may Allah Azza wa Jal take these people out of that the situation. May Allah give everybody relief, inshallah. Ameen. Someone saying, we love you, Shaykh. I love you too, all of you as well, alhamdulillah. Abu Taymi says, how to counter the rampant culture in our Indo-Pak societies that stop them from getting married. Today, even before a couple are engaged, the parents can destroy their chances because of their dispose, he says. Anyway, so because of disposition to culture. Jazakallah, Shaykh. Okay, so Abu Taymi, I understand what you're saying about the Indo-Pak sort of parents, and sometimes it can be hard, because especially if you're living with the in-laws, it can be hard. And I normally advise in this day and age, if you can live separately, if you've got a choice of marrying someone and living separately, alhamdulillah, please live separately. Try and get your own accommodation. But parents can sometimes, be very one of the things the parents sometimes do is that they act like, oh my God, I can't do anything because you're married, you're my son, and you've just brought in a daughter-in-law. You both have to look after us because we've just become disabled. We've just become disabled overnight. We can't do much. Oh my God, we're going to die if you just leave us alone. And there's people out there that fake it sometimes. I know sometimes, these old people or the parents that they need some kind of assistance. We know that, and that is the case. But there are people who fake it. Let's face it. There are people who fake it, and that's kind of sad that people are faking it just to make sure that the daughter-in-law does whatever they want her to do, just to make sure that the son does whatever they want to do, and then poor son and daughter-in-law, poor daughter and son-in-law, they get blamed for they get blamed for the split inside the family. They probably didn't do much. Okay, they didn't do much, but it's others around them that did that, and then they get blamed for it, which is sad. Okay, which is sad. Now I understand what you're saying, but I would say that, you know, you move on, you get married, and try and live together in a separate accommodation if you can. Okay, so Shadab Malik is asking, for example, there is one name of Allah, Ya Rahman, and whoever read 400 times after every salah, they have a sharp memory. Look, these things where you read a certain name in a at a certain amount of time, or certain amount of times, there could be the experience of a certain scholar, and if that's the case, then if you want to follow that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that just because you never found something in hadith that you can't do it. But if it becomes a cult, or if it becomes something that you know, everyone's doing at a certain number and everyone's doing it, and it becomes like a cult, like you must read it this many times to get this, then that's wrong. You know, we don't need to take it to that level. And I've said in my talk, Salafi versus Sufi, if you check that on YouTube, you'll see that this is the case, that people sometimes do take it to that extreme. But however, if it's just a normal thing that people are doing, then let people do it. Let people do it. You know, because it's someone's someone's action that they've found some relief in a certain, you know, they've said it for 100 times and Allah has gifted something to them. If you find the same thing, then alhamdulillah. If not, you know, read it more times, or, you know, read something different. Okay, Dot Chaudhry, who's been following me on my Facebook for some time. Assalamu alaikum, Dot. What is the difference between faith and logic? Well, faith is something inside the heart, and logic is something that is inside your mind. So sometimes they do clash, because, you know, your mind might say something, but your heart might say something else. Because sometimes you have a sixth sense. So you kind of understand that, you know, I'm supposed to do this thing right now, and you just got this thing about you that I believe I believe it's the right thing to do. You just don't know where it comes from. Sometimes it doesn't come from your senses, but you do it, and that's faith. That's inside your heart. But logic is something different, and there can be a clash between the two. I think I've talked about that in some of my talks. I can't remember which talk exactly I've talked about this, but there is a big difference between the thinking and thinking from the brain, or from up here, logic, and something from the heart. Okay. Suleiman Khawar says, what are the qualities of the believers? There are many qualities of the believers. Read a hadith and you will find a number of the qualities of believers. And Subhanallah al-Azim, you will see that the Prophet ﷺ has given us many descriptions of those people who, for example, he says, you know, la yu'minu ahadukum, those people, you know, who don't actually love for their brother what they love for themselves, they're not true believers. So that's the quality of a believer, to love for your brother what you love for yourself. Another one might be that the Muslims are those whom others are safe from their hands and their tongues. That's the quality of a believer. There's another one that if your neighbor doesn't actually be safe from your troubles that you have, then you can't be a good believer. Okay, so there's a number of things that are the good believer. Tamanna Chaudhry says, what is the minimum rakah prayers that need to be prayed for each of the 5 daily prayers? Well, the minimum is the fard, fine, but you should do the sunnah as well, because you're going to need the sunnah for the day of judgment, seriously, because wherever we have a deficiency in our salah, people need, on the day of judgment, Allah will say, okay, you know, there's a deficiency in fard. So therefore, hal li'abdi min tatawwu' is the hadith, which says that check with my servant, has he or she got any nawafil or extra voluntary prayers, the sunnah prayers, with which we're going to fulfill the fard prayers. So that is something which people will look for on the day of judgment. So please do your sunnah as well. But the minimum is the fard. You know, that's quite clear. But that doesn't mean you always stick to the minimum. You know, like if people were told, okay, what's the minimum wage? I mean, you know, that is a joke, isn't it? So imagine people say, okay, go and tell me, what's the minimum wage? I just want to earn the minimum wage. Who in the world goes out there and says, I just want to earn the most minimum wage? People go for the maximum wage. People want to go for like, you know, give me the maximum amount. You know, people want to negotiate. I don't want £10 an hour. I want £20, £30. I want £100 an hour. I want £200 an hour. So what's this about? If people don't go for the minimum wage, then why are people going for the minimum amount of rakats that they can do? I mean, just you know, doesn't make sense. Okay, Shadab Malik, I think, has got another question. I've already answered one of your questions, so I'm going to move on. Uzair Shahid says, what do you say about pointing out faults and mistakes and warning against da'is and don't listen to him? See, the thing is that if you feel that a da'i or someone who's inviting in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal is someone who is doing wrong, then you need to go to your local imam. And you need to go to, let the imam decide to talk about another imam. You know, don't become a person who, you know, you find yourself as a person who knows the bits of the deen, and you want to sort of say to people that, you know, don't listen to this scholar, don't listen to that scholar. Look, that's not right, my friend, okay? It's not your job. It's a job of a scholar or someone to actually go and to tell another scholar what he's doing wrong. So leave it to the scholars to do that, okay? And if they're going to tell someone not to listen to someone, then that's their job. Ambiya Khatun says, sorry Shaykh, I missed the answer to my question as live stream did not appear on laptop. Can you please repeat if you can? I mean, after I finish this, it'll be live on my Facebook, so inshallah you can see that. How do I sharpen my memory? Somebody asking. I mean, stay away from sins. If you want to sharpen your memory, stop looking at sins with your eyes, and inshallah your memory will be sharp. Inshallah bi'idhnillah. And listen to my talk on how to pass your exam successfully, and in that I talk about this, inshallah. Brother, how can one stop Master Shin? That's from Muhammad Haitasham. I didn't answer that. I didn't understand the question. Okay, so let's move on. Faiz Fazr Vadiwala says, Salam Shaykh, wa alaikum salam. How is witr salah supposed to be prayed? I mean, there's a number of ways you can pray witr, so it depends which madhab you're following. So, you know, you can do the Hanafi way, which is 3 together, or you can do the Hanbali way, which is 2 and then 1 after that. I mean, within the madhab, it's fine. So, you know, just follow one madhab and just stick to it, inshallah. Hisham Khan says, Salamu alayna wa alaikum salam. My niece was born today, and my friend said to me that when a kid is born, you read something in the ear or say something to stay away from sins. Well, yes, you read the adhan. You read the adhan in the ear, and inshallah you'll see the baby calm down. This is one of the miracles of you know, Islam, the faith that we've got. Even nurses have said this. Subhanallah. You know, you see that when you say the adhan in the baby will actually start to like scream when it comes out. Okay. But subhanallah, you know, as soon as you say the adhan in the ear, the baby calms down. I've seen it time and again. With all my 3 kids, the same thing happened. The same thing happened, that the baby just calms down. So this is a beautiful way of you knowing that your faith is a true faith, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, okay? Muhibbul Islam says, best way to get married. Best way to get married. The best way to get married is to find someone and to get married to them. I mean, what do you mean the best way to get married? I mean, what do you want to do? You want to start giving her a, you know, I don't know, lovely dress or something like that? That's not the best way to get married. I mean, the best way to get married is to follow the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and whatever you know of the sunnah, follow that. So I've got a talk which is Happy Marriage Seminar. Please view that, and you'll get the thing about best way of getting married, inshallah, bismillah. Zubayd Iqbal says, lol, at minimum wage. Yo, you're right. You know, minimum wage. People don't go for minimum wage, but they want to go for minimum rakats, and they want to go for minimum tasbih. That's true. Okay. Jamil Khan says, what are the powerful ways to change a sealed heart to the best one? Like how to change Imaan level to the highest level as possible. Okay, so if you've got a sealed heart, you need to do dhikr. Okay, you need to do dhikr, and then you need to remember Allah so many times that it actually starts to break the seal in the heart. And it seriously does happen. It happens because people, you know, they don't really people's sins clog up the heart. Now I've got a lecture out there on YouTube called From Addiction and Sin to Devotion Within. Okay, from addiction and sin to devotion within. So if you actually listen to that, it talks about how to unclog or declog the heart. So it's a dhikr. Mainly, look, you've got to carry on taking Allah's name. Take Allah's name. So, you know, Subhanallah, 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 Subhanallah. Take Allah's name, do tilawah, get close to Allah through prayer, through khushu, through devotion, through dhikr. Just think, Allah, 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 or La ilaha illallah. Again, you think of Allah, and do it again and again and again until it just rips, rips the clogging that you've got inside your body. And inshallah, you'll see that happen. Inshallah, you'll see that happen. But you just need to do it as much as it takes you to, undo the damage that you've got inside, okay? Sadiqur Rahman says, recite the Quran, inshallah. You hope to recite the Quran? Okay, fine, inshallah. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم صدق الله العظيم. May Allah accept. Buba Ba says, Salam Shaykh, wa alaikum salam. May Allah reward you for your work. Make dua for me. I make dua for you, for all the other listeners as well. May Allah give us all of us aafiyah, which is one of the best du'as you can actually ask Allah Azza wa Jalla is aafiyah. You want relief. You want relief. Okay, so Sufyan Qadir says, what are your views in saying Ya Rasoolullah? Or I heard some people saying that it's wrong because you're making him equivalent to Allah. Look, when you say Ya Rasoolullah, it depends on your niyyah, okay? It depends on your intention. So, look, most people who might say, let's say for example, I'm saying right now, I'm saying, like, in like Bengali, people say, oh, my go, like, oh, my mom, yeah? Now, those of you Bengalis will know this. So you take your mom's name. Now, your mom could be dead, but or your mom might be alive, but she's not there. But you say, oh my God, oh my mother, oh my God, right? It's my mother, right? But it doesn't mean that you think your mother's in front of you, and therefore you say, oh my God. So the same thing applies to when somebody might say, Ya Rasoolullah. It depends what's in the heart. If a believer says Ya Rasoolullah, thinking that, the angels are going to take it from my mouth to the Roda, and then it's like I'm saying, Assalamu alaikum Ya Rasoolullah, may the peace and blessings be on you, Messenger of Allah. That's fine, because the niyyah is the angels take it. Or you're just expressing your long, your longingness for the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You're saying Ya Rasoolullah, out of mahabba, out of love, that's fine. But if you're saying it thinking that he's come right now in front of you because you said Ya Rasoolullah, that's something which is not right, and I don't think believers really do that. Please, be careful when you start to accuse other believers of what they believe when they say something. So let's leave it at that. It depends what's inside your heart. Salma Khanum says, if I wake up after the sun has risen, do I read Fajr as qadha? Yes, you do read Fajr as qadha after the sun has risen, inshallah. You have to still do the Fajr, inshallah. I mean, if you're talking about your sunnah, then do your sunnah as well with the fard. It doesn't matter, because it's accepted to do the sunnah with the fard. Hafsa Abdullah says, what is the Ibadi sect? My sister, visitor, or something, different groups such as Zaydis and Shia, can we allow any of them to lead the prayers and we pray behind them? Or should only Sunnis lead the prayers? See, look, it depends. Not all Shias are kafirs, but like Zaydis actually, they're a lot closer to Sunnis than other Shias. Okay, so can you sort of, can you put a Shia as an Imam and your Sunnis behind? I mean, it depends on the beliefs. Okay, it depends on the beliefs. So it depends what they believe. Now, I can't rip into the hearts of people and say what do they believe. Now, inshallah, one day I wish to do a whole talk on Sunnis and Shias and explain the narrative of what is going on between them. So wait till that comes out, inshallah. Right now, I would say to you, look, if you've got Sunni Imams, let a Sunni Imam lead Sunni Imams. let the Shia Imams lead the Shia ones. Now, if there's a mixture, then fine. You decide on according to the beliefs whether you want to pray behind them or not. I mean, some Shias you can pray behind, and some Shias you can't, depending on their beliefs. Okay, and the Shias will probably say the same thing about the Sunnis, which is fine. That's their view. Okay. So Abdullah Ahmad says, what do you think of Tablighi? What do I think of Tablighi? What do you want me to think of Tablighi? I mean, look, if they're doing good, they're doing good. If they're not doing something good, they're not doing something good. You got to base them on their principles, okay? So the principles of Tablighi is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to, if you find something faulty with a certain people, then fine. You've got to try and judge people on the merits that they've actually got, and if you're in doubt, then you need to start to ask scholars. And look, your local imam, just ask your local imam. I don't want to cause any fitna here. I know a lot of Tablighi brothers. I know them to be good, and I don't know them to do bad. But there are some, rotten apples amongst anyone. So I'm sure there are rotten people amongst that group as well. So you've got to take the good of every people and keep the bad away. And that's what I'm going to say about any group, inshallah. So Adil, I'm trying to take questions from people who haven't actually asked the question. So Adil Mahmood says, Salam Shaykh, I have a question. Can I read a short dua in sujood in Fard, Sunnah and Nafil prayers? You can read a dua in your in your Fard and Sunnah and Nafil prayers. You can, but it's recommended not to read them in Fard prayers because the Prophet ﷺ wouldn't do so. But if it's the Sunnah and Nafil prayers, then yes, definitely you can read them. And some people, they go into sajdah and they say, well, I want something and I want to ask Allah for something, but what do I ask Allah? How do I ask Allah in Arabic? Because you're not supposed to say English in Salah. So simply you would say, Allahumma rzuqni hadha, or Allah grant me this, or Allah grant me this. Allahumma rzuqni hadha. Allahumma rzuqni hadha. I'm going to say it again. Allahumma rzuqni hadha, which means, oh Allah, grant me this thing. Oh Allah, grant me this thing. And you can say that dua in your sajdah as well if you want, and think about the thing that you actually want from Allah Azza wa Jal, and hopefully you get that thing. So it's a short dua, and it's a way of asking Allah for something that you want. Okay, Sayafiq Abdul Rahman says, Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. How do you keep steadfast on the path of Allah? It's easy to become religious for a few weeks, but how do you constantly renew your Iman and be steadfast? The thing is, look, it's a number of combinations, okay? One is that you've got to try and make your mind that I'm going to do this. I'm going to stick to what Islam says. You've got to bring your willpower to say that I'm going to do this. At the same time, do your du'as. At the same time, do your salahs, or whatever you're doing, do it that you're trying to make yourselves feel stronger. Now, the main thing is the dhikr inside. When the dhikr or the remembrance of Allah, really penetrates in the heart. I mean, look at the hadith of Bukhari where it was Hiraql, the king that actually said to Abu Sufyan, he said, Abu Sufyan wasn't a Muslim at this time, but Hiraql, who wasn't also a Muslim at the time, he says, well, that's faith, because once faith goes into you, it penetrates inside. Now, this is, Imam Bukhari is quoting this, and this is yukhalitu al-qalb, it penetrates in. So you want faith to absorb in. Now, let me give you an example, yeah? Let me give you an example. Every year I do this barbecue. Yeah, you guys want some barbecue? Well, sorry, I can't invite all of you, but when you go for a barbecue, now, how does the barbecue taste nice? Okay, so I'm going to give you a clue of how to make your barbecue taste nice. How you do that is, if you marinate the meat on the day, you're not going to get a good taste, because the marinating is going to fall off. As soon as you put the meat onto the grills, it's just going to fall off. It hasn't soaked into the meat. So what you do is, you should put the marinating on a day before or 2 days before, and then leave the meat in the fridge so that the marinade soaks in. Or even better, if you can do this, is do it 5 days earlier and then freeze the meat. And then after that, take the meat out and let it defrost 1 day before you're going to cook it, and let it all soak straight in. Because when it soaks straight in, that's when it's going to taste the best. Okay? So the same thing goes with, you want Imaan, let the Imaan absorb into the heart through dhikr, through the remembrance of Allah, and then you're going to really feel a good taste, of Imaan. Hafs Abdullah says, what is the Ibadi sect? I mean, I'm not too sure about the Ibadi sect right now, so I'm not going to answer that one. Murad Mian says, salam, sir. Wa alaikum salam. Hope you're well. I'm well, and nice to hear from you as well. What are the basics of Istikhara? I mean, again, if you want to see a fuller answer to this, look at my talk, Happy Marriage Seminar. I'll be talking about Istikhara there. But you pray 2 rakats, you read the dua of Istikhara after the 2 rakats, and then just depend on Allah Azza wa Jal to show you the way. Now, the dua of Istikhara, just type it in Google, Istikhara dua, and you'll see the dua, inshallah. Okay, Myra Ra says, what does one do when parents will not let her wear jilbab at all, as they are culturally based, and will not let her interact with religious people at all? She has tried proofs from Quran, Sunnah. Okay, look, sister, I understand there are probably a number of other sisters that you're having a difficulty in trying to get the jilbab, and you're trying to wear the jilbab, and you cannot, look, if it's to do with your hijab and your basic further covering yourself up, you can't really obey the parents where you're disobeying Allah Azza wa Jalla, okay? So you be good to your parents, you be kind to them, but if it's your fard and if it's your deen and you want to protect yourself and you want to wear what you have to wear, just wear it. Look, your parents love you, and I'm telling you, they will come around it. They will come around, because sometimes parents, they're just not practicing and they just don't see the value of the hijab, and it's very unfortunate that they do this. But there are things that you would want those parents to do which they're not going to listen to you. And I'll tell you another secret. There are things their parents wanted them to do which they didn't do, and which might be of the deen. Now, our marker is the deen. So if Allah tells you to do something, then you do it. And if the creation comes in between there, then we have to carry on doing what Allah Azza wa Jal says. But obviously, it's your right to cover yourself up. It's your right to cover yourself up. So they've got to understand that you're doing this for a good reason. You're doing this for a reason that you don't want other men to look at you, and you don't want other men to start touching you up, and you don't want other men to end up coming with you or taking you to a hotel. Now explain that, for God's sake, to your parents. Look guys, man, I'm trying to cover myself up. I'm trying to be a daughter that brings you dignity to your house, and you're telling me to go and undress out there and walking like whatever down without a hijab and all that. I mean, look, I'm not looking down on those sisters who walk like that, but seriously, when they walk like that, men are like, whoa, we want to see this person, okay? So explain nicely to parents, inshallah, they will understand. Sahid Abd al-Qadir says, in Aqidah we believe Allah's subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes. Is that different to the 99 names? 99 names, part of the names is, it includes his attributes, okay? So it has it included in there. So you can actually, you can say his attributes are things that are wider than the 99 names, because his attributes are found in many other names other than the 99 names, and you have to understand that. So study Aqidah, and you'll find that, inshallah. Jusna Begum says he's listening or reading Qur'an via mobile, same reward as reading from the Qur'an. If you read it from a mobile or read it from an actual Qur'an, it's the same thing, okay? But when you read it from a mobile and the Qur'an is actually displaying on the actual screen itself, try out of respect not to touch it without wudu, okay? Try not to touch the Arabic part without wudu. I know it's just light, but it's the same. You get the same reward because you're actually just reading for the sake of Allah. Okay, Nur Liza Muhammad says, my husband keeps saying I have jinn on me. What should I do? Well, I pray, read Quran. I don't know what your situation is, sister, but you might want to go and see someone who can do ruqya on you, and maybe he could tell you whether there is a jinn with you or there isn't. Okay. So may Allah Azza wa Jal give you cure for whatever you might have, or you might not need cure. I don't know. So please go and see someone who can do ruqya. Muhammad Ramzan says, Salam Shaykh, is there a dua to help you from slander, or is there any action that we can do? You got to stop the tongue. I mean, once the Prophet ﷺ told Mu'adh, he said, take this tongue. And if all of you can do this right now, and I know you're not doing it right now, touch your tongue, for God's sake. Touch your tongue, man. Touch your tongue. Why? Because when you touch it, it's a bit salty, you know, like, you know, you just like touched your fingers that are salty, and you're probably thinking, well, you know, horrible taste. But you know what? It makes you think. It'll make you remember the hadith. Because when the Prophet ﷺ said that, he told Mu'adh to hold on to his tongue. And then he said, kuf. And how they said, control this. So if you can learn how to control your tongue, you'll save yourself from a lot of trouble. So please try and control the mouth. And when you hear something, don't just spread it, okay? We're getting loads of these questions from Suleiman Khawar. I appreciate your tens of questions, but there are loads of other people. I've taken a question from you already. So Azim G says, MashaAllah Shaykh, I'm loving the live video. Okay, Jazakumullah khair. I'm doing this for you guys. I really, you know, I've got loads of other things to do. But anyway, Jamil Khan says, last question. Well, you've already asked one, I think. Okay, so look, I'll just take this one. He's asking that, you know, sometimes you do sins and you think that you're drowning yourself in sins. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that says, وَأَتْبِعِي السَّيِّئَةَ الْحَسَنَةِ, follow a sin with a good deed, which means that as soon as you've actually done a sin, do a good deed straight away, whether it's minor or major, and inshallah, you know, feel good that you're wiping away that sin that you've just done, okay? Iqbal Zaman says, are student loans halal? Again, I'm not a mufti. Please go and ask your mufti, your sheikhs, whatever, your imams, okay? So I'm going to pass on that one. Adib Sham says, who are you supporting in 20 Cricket World Cup? Wow. You think I'm sitting there watching some cricket players play while others are gambling, okay? So you haven't laughed, right? I'll tell you, look. When Pakistan lose to Bangladesh, okay, there's some people that just got very rich at the gambling places, okay? Just remember that, right? Because Pakistan's a lot better than the Bangladesh team. I know I'm a Bengali and I'm just saying this, okay? And my Bengali viewers out there are going to say, nah, you didn't just say that. Bengalis are better than Pakistan. Well, look, when Pakistan's really good at cricket, so when they lose to Bengalis, some people have made loads of money out there by betting, okay? And it's, I mean, I'm not supporting anyone, okay? I'm not even following you. I haven't even watched one, you know, alhamdulillah. I can get on with my life, you know. Don't kind of stick yourself out there that you have to watch the cricket. You have to watch every move. There's people, some guy told me today, he said, I'm working, and he said, I've got a TV there and I need to see the cricket. I'm just like, come on, man, you know. Are you working or are you watching a game? Okay, so I've got a few more minutes and I'm going to wrap this up. So Mr. Z says, Salam Shaykh, doing dhikr when say Alhamdulillah, we think of the things that are thankful for. What should we think of when saying Subhanallah and Allahuakbar? When you say Subhanallah, just think that Allah is pure from everything that is impure, so he's completely free of every blame, everything that has a defect, and that you, the person who's saying this, me, I've got defects in me, I've got things that are wrong with me. That's what you should think of Subhanallah, that Allah is completely free of all of this. And when you say Allahu Akbar, you should think that Allah is greater than anything that I've got in my world, in my desires, in my life, in my work, in my studies, whatever. Allah is greater than all of it, okay? Shah Muhammad Fuad says, make dua for me, my health and rizq, Shaykh. Okay, inshallah, may Allah Azza wa Jal, do the best for you and for your life, inshallah. Now I'm trying to look for someone we haven't answered. Okay, so Luqman Mehman says, what advice should we give to Muslims who are having doubts about the existence of a creator? Look, I'm going to do some videos on this, inshallah, because I know the number of people have got that, but that needs a fuller answer. So maybe maybe next time I do one of these, I'm gonna probably start off with that, and then we'll carry on. But look, it's been a good 45 minutes now, guys. Yeah. So Jazakumullah khair. I hope you enjoyed that, and whenever I get the chance, I'll try and do this. I can't promise you to do something regularly with this, but if you see something on my Facebook saying that it's going to go live at this time, then inshallah I'll do my best to be there live at that time. But it's been wonderful and lovely speaking to all of you. I know I can't hear you, but I'm reading your comments. But Jazakumullah khair. I'll begin with some of your questions that you've got here next.